I'm Riju Ray, Chief Business Officer of IDFI, and this is the third episode of the Trust and Privacy podcast, where we explore what trust means in a digital first world and how to build it. For our third episode, which is a mini podcast, I am thrilled to welcome Dan Stoltman. We all know who he is. Ashok, what are you doing here?
I am Dan Stoltman.
Okay, let's get serious. Ashok Hariharan is the CEO of IDFI and an expert in fraud detection and probably a fraudster himself. We thought about using this episode to bring focus to this growing issue of AI generated ID cards. I think there's a lot of confusion about this area. So Ashok, let me start off by asking this simple question. Given that there are so many AI generated ID cards, so easy to create them, when are you shutting down your business?
I think we are very much alive and we've been solving this problem for the last 14 years and we already catch a lot of these frauds in fact.
Yes, good to know. So is forgery something new or is AI generated images a pretty new sort of forgery?
No, forgery has been around for many years. I've seen cards from 15 years ago which are forged far better than what these AI, what Sam Altman's OpenAI has been able to do. And actually, the real thing with the way that forgeries have been happening earlier, at least, was around people taking real images, real ID cards, and just changing either the name or the face, etc. What our AI models are now doing is generating those images from scratch, but they miss a lot of the security features in there. Right. So actually, these are far easier to catch than before. In fact.
Got it. Okay. So on that topic, how do you actually detect forgery in ID cards?
Yeah, so there are a set of 4 or 5 things that we do. One is to detect if a document has been tampered.
Okay.
Here we are looking at features within that document to see if they are following certain formats. We are looking at certain image trend lines. We look at metadata. We look at data which are embedded inside to kind of figure out if it's been tampered. Once we know that it has not been tampered, we then read the document and figure out we extract the face, we extract the information in that document, and then we compare it to a selfie, between a face and a selfie, to make sure it is the same person transacting. Because what you don't want is somebody taking your ID card, putting and using my face to get through. But also I need to make sure I'm a live person and I'm not using a Facebook image of Ashok, Riju Ray, to get through the system. But most importantly, after doing all of this, there are about 10-15 databases that we can check that data that we've extracted from the ID card against, including the photo. For example, Aadhaar, PAN, voter ID, driver's license, sometimes even ration cards. So these databases necessarily needs to be checked in order to figure out if these documents have the information that document contains is genuine. Imagine if Sam Altman was there in a PAN card, when that check happens against the database, the database would return back there is no person as Sam Altman.
Yeah.
So it's a simple database check which solves that problem. But the more sophisticated problem is actually Ashok Hariharan pretending to be Riju, where I would change the face of Riju Ray's card.
Yeah.
And keep the rest of the data correct. So when you do the database check, it actually comes out to be genuine, but the face is different.
Yeah.
So those also need to be caught.
Yeah.
And those are more sophisticated fraud, which actually has been happening for many years.
Yeah, I actually want somebody very handsome to do my forgery. Anyway, coming back to this topic of ID cards. So how are citizens affected by this? Isn't it something that would have happened before in the physical context also? So how are they affected and what should they do?
Actually, this has been happening for many years, including the physical world. In fact, the digital world at least has systems like ours, like IDFI's, which actually solves this problem. But in the physical world, where you're carrying it, let's say to the airport and a security guard is looking at it, the real question to ask is it trained enough to know that this document has been forged or not? And most human beings are not. Machines do a far better job. So in fact, the digital world is far better as long as you're using platforms like IDFI. And honestly, it can only be solved through a platform and not by checking individual things. So like platforms like IDFI solve it holistically. Now, what that also kind of the thing where I'm the most afraid of is these cards then get printed and then people use it to enter and get services. For example, enter a hotel or enter an airport or enter a premise using a forged ID card. I'm really worried about that, and I really think each of these places need to put in necessary systems in place in order to check this appropriately, which is through a digital check with a platform like IDFI.
Actually, just go a little bit deeper to it, right? How do businesses protect themselves also? Because in a way, if the businesses start getting conscious about it and start putting in these checks, citizens are also protected.
Yes.
How do you go into
exactly?
What should they
So I think there are three things I would recommend. Right. One, I think at some level the government has to is putting a lot of regulation around it, but I think they have to start putting regulation into areas where today there are no regulations. For example, hotel entry. Second, these businesses should be putting in systems in place rather than just taking your ID card and maybe photocopying it, which is what most hotels do today. So technically, any person with a bad intent, it could be a terrorist, it could be a thief, it could be somebody who's trying to do some sort of crime, could enter a hotel and stay there. And really there is another platform that can be put in as a checkpoint there, or any premise that you're entering as well. Apart from that, digitally, there are lots of places where people should be asking for ID card or do ask for ID card, but then are you doing the necessary checks against databases and etc. to make sure that bad actors don't enter?
So really, just to summarize, what you're saying is that you shouldn't stop digital transactions or digital, ways to verify things or to transact. Instead, what the regulator should focus on is to make sure that everybody is verifying them.
That's right.
Because it can be verified.
In fact, I'm saying that digital is far safer than physical, and what the physical world should be doing is mimicking what the digital world has been doing for the last 10 years.
Got it.
So what banks have been doing, lot of the gaming platforms have been doing, or a lot of e-commerce platforms have been doing in India.
So finally, what should a citizen do in order to keep themselves safe?
I think one of the, while OpenAI you can generate images, the far, more, what I'm most afraid of is actually a genuine card being forged.
Yeah.
And so, as a citizen, I'd make sure that I don't share it in a lot of the platforms very freely. I would make sure that the places I'm sharing it are treating that card with respect. The way I look at it is, imagine if somebody comes to your house and asks for an ID card, don't give him a photocopy of it and write true copy and sign it, because that is definitely high risk, because somebody can actually share that. It's better that it's there in a platform rather than physical copies of it.
Got it. Well, thank you so much, Ashok. And thank you to all our users for joining in. Hopefully you found it useful. Thank you so much.